And we are live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Niki Lopez of Niki Lopez Creative, and you're watching The Circle, where every first and third Tuesday of the month, I'm talking to artists, activists, social entrepreneurs, people doing great things in the world today. And I'm back off of a little break, with work projects. So I'm just really excited to have a good amazing artist, poet, many things, mom, Arsimmer McCoy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes,
It's been a while in the making, so
oh my gosh, absolutely.
It's finally happening. Like I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to have you here, and we've been crossing paths and having little pockets here and there. So I'm just
now more than ever, like.
I see Jamie saying, "Whoop whoop, the circle is back." Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So some people know I've been doing some work with the Housing Authority and the LA Lee YMCA Mizell Center. So I've been having to take little breaks, but it is April. It is Poetry Month, and I have an amazing person in for today. And so while people are getting online, we are live on Facebook in a couple of places. We're live on Niki Lopez Creative. We're live on in the group, The Circle. We're live on 1310 Gallery page. And we're live on LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter. And afterwards, this will be available on your favorite podcasts. So, oh, hey, Will, how are you? So a little bit about Arsimmer, an international poet, educator, cultural worker, performance, and collaborative artist. Arsimmer McCoy is from Richmond Heights, Florida. McCoy formulates poetry, prose, and short stories centered in conversations with self and community over identity, human connectivity, legacy, validation. Arsimmer is the creator of the Carrol City Museum, an art archive and community space that will operate in her residence in the heart of Miami Gardens. Woo! That's a lot.
Mouthful.
That's a mouthful, but I already know that that's a short list. So, and we have Miss Sylvia. Thank you. Good evening, Nikki and guests. Yes, Miss Sylvia. So, yeah, so I'm just welcome. I'm very grateful to have you here. What was the spark that started your creative journey?
Oh man. I've actually been creating since I was a child. I think that's all creative creation's story. Yeah. Like some of us do grab onto a certain particular medium later on in life. But for the most part, even that medium just comes after creating and then falling in love with a certain type of creating, right? But I've been writing since I was a kid. I used to like talk to myself and like do like shows, if that makes sense, like, oh sorry, we're really live, like
Yep.
we're really live. So yeah, so I would like play all the parts and my mom would be like, yo, like what you got going on? But I would write them down because I realized saying them to myself, was freaking people out. But yeah, I would write when I was a kid, and then it kind of just evolved in high school. And then by college, I was doing like performances. I was doing programming on my college campus. And in recent years, it has just turned into a craft that I have been able to eat with, that I have used as a vehicle to make changes that I see that I want for my community and for my child. So yeah, my creation story starts from birth, really.
Popping out the stomach.
Popping out, just
boom. And I see Jasmine in the Facebook group saying, wow. Yeah. So how did you go from poet to creative director and cultural worker?
Now, that was actually more recent. That
Mhm.
actually took place in 2019. I am like a lot of stories surrounding the pandemic.
Mm.
We witnessed people. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Really fighting or flying,
Mm.
right? We were in a time where uh, you had to figure out if you were okay, if you were going to be okay, and in order to be okay, what did you need to do to get there?
Mm.
For me, I took a significant change in my life, and I delved into the practice of work that I had actually been doing since I was in college. Um, I didn't take it as seriously because I just felt like I was more of a performer. I was more of a writer, and the creative programming was just something, I just did. It was something just organic to me.
Mm.
If there would be an event, I would talk about the decor. I remember organizing a fashion show with the Alphas, and I was so enraged that they were like having the models wear their own clothes. I was like, that's not a fashion show. And we know that, right? In college, that is the fashion show, right? You wear your own clothes. It's a cute little situation where everybody gets to look cute and jazzy. But I came in and was like, I know fashion designers in the community. Why don't we connect with them? Why don't you actually have actual fashions to show? And then also let's tap into like different modeling, people that can come out and train the models to walk real runway in case this is something they really want to do. And then as an organization, can you give a stipend to the designer on behalf of, the fraternity so that now they have like something to put towards their craft? I was thinking about this my freshman year of college and doing things like this.
Mm.
So when 2019 hit, I decided to expound upon my craft. What does creative direction look like as a poet? How do I implement poetry and creative writing on a larger scale, on a more creative scale? And so I also looked at some of the great people we have, like yourself, Darius Daughtry, people who really changed the way that we look at poetry and where poetry can be placed and how far it can go. And so, yeah, I just embarked on something that I had already been cultivating for so long, and it's been beautiful to watch the process, to watch the transition.
Hmm. And I love that how it's just like you're going from poetry to organizing thing. And like you said, when you have these experiences, sometimes we don't even know that we're doing a thing. We're just doing it because we're drawn to it or we feel like needs to happen. And
Hmm.
it's just like that's a whole nother avenue that we get to explore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I was always curious about how one thing can be elevated through a program. And that started really honestly with church, right?
Mhm.
People who especially grew up in the Baptist church, we grew up with, Christmas, we had a Christmas show, Easter, we had an Easter show. And every year you had to figure out a different way to show Easter. Like
Mhm.
Easter was always one thing. We know the story of Easter, like, but your church would figure out every year a different way to present the idea of Easter to you, right?
Mhm.
Or Christmas comes and not the resurrection, but yeah, the birth story. How do we expound upon something that was already so magical in the first place? And we learned originally how programming works and
Mhm.
creative programming works for me personally, through my church and through the programs that were held at church, from everything from that to like the pastor's anniversary
Mhm.
program. How do we talk about this man who has been here 55 years in a different way? We bring different speakers, we have different choirs, we have a theme, we talk about this and we talk about that. So if I could really attribute my love for creative direction, it would be Sweet Home Missionary Baptist Church, Florida. At
Meant.
the time under Walter T. Richardson. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. By the way, I'm loving that jacket.
Oh, thank you.
Oh man, can
It's
you
from
just
the Cool. They are in Miami, Florida. They have a shop right in Wynwood. What'd you call that one? Lemon City
oh, okay.
is what it's called, or is it Magic City? Gentrification. I don't even know what it is. I know that it is behind the Magic City sign, but on the other side it says Lemon City, but it's called Cool. They're a design fashion their own line. Please check them out. They have amazing stuff. I did a performance for them and they were so gracious to give me this beautiful jacket that I've been watching for years. Bartering artists, y'all gotta barter sometimes, okay?
Miss Sylvie said jacket is beautiful.
It's not all about the bag, you know?
Absolutely. There's cash, there's Bitcoin, there's trade, there's lots of things going on.
Sound equipment, venue, okay? If you need something, like I do this, you film, okay, cool, you know? And I wish artists would tap more into that, like really be about the bartering and leave, you know, getting the bag from the institutions that are, you know, wanting and needing of that time. But like if it's your homie who's filming, it's no different than, you know what I'm saying, rappers or musicians, right? They ain't paying for all this studio time. You know, there's a bartering system taking place, some a little seedy than others. But I'm saying as artists, you know, if there is something that I can do for you, if I'm a model and you're a photographer, you know, there's a bartering that can take place. I need photos, you need a subject, right? And so on and so forth. So
bartering, collaboration, definitely there's power in that and it lifts all sails. Absolutely. How do you define, I know you talked a little bit about it, but how do you define a cultural worker in what you do?
So pretty much there has been conversations about the difference between a creative and a cultural worker. And so a creative is, you know, an overall creative. Their work can run the gamut of anything, you know. But a cultural worker is someone who in all that they do tries to uplift the culture, or in the majority of the things they do is about uplifting the culture, uplifting people, uplifting conversations around culture, around race, around, you know, their background, their community. So everything that I do is cultural work. I can't say it's just like we were talking earlier about your swimming and how like your swimming is like advocacy. It can't just be swimming. As a cultural worker, like like your swimming is revolution. Your swimming is rebellion. Your swimming is rest. It's resistance. It is a ministry. You know what I'm saying? And you know, sometimes I know, especially you know, Black women, we get exhausted from being, you know, these pillars, from being these totems and these, you know, constant pushers of resistance, because we would like to just rest and be and just swim, right? But there is a sort of a real obligation on us to continue to like advocate for these things in a very in a large way, so that it catches on, so that more babies, so that I was telling people this, like the hustle theory, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I made it up or if I'm getting it from somebody else out of the sky. But I figured that like maybe a couple of years down, we'll finally be able to exercise the hustle out of generations. So my child right now, hustle, I think she's gonna be a ninja, to tell you the truth. Like she's gonna like take my little insurance money when I die, and she's gonna go to Cabo and like just be a free black baby. Like she's not even going to mourn the loss of me, because she's going to be so thankful that I'm not here, that I'm not sad, and I'm not, you know, worrying. She's gonna be like, you know what, my mom's not stressed no more. Her hustle is done. Like now I get to be free. And then she has kids, and her kids are even freer than them. And so I think that, you know, the more we work towards it, we'll end up, you know, soothing that hustle and that need to advocate for swimming, you know what I'm saying, out of our systems. It's gonna take time, but yeah.
And we have Emmanuel George of Black Broward saying truth. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's something, you know, being an independent artist, and there is that hustle thing. And several years ago, that's something that kind of clicked in my mind too. Like, even though I love what I do and love, all this stuff, I also want to make sure that my son sees me not just always working. Like, why work for yourself if he can't see that, oh yeah, mom could take a break.
Yeah.
She's on vacation. What is that?
Right.
And rest, and just like, I'm not doing anything. I'm so active. At the same time, I love, like, being in silent,
Yeah.
looking at the wall. What am I doing? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. I owe it to myself. Yeah. Have you ever had to overcome any challenges as, like, a Black artist or a woman artist or a mother who's professionally practicing being a creative?
Um, it's interesting. I was recording something today. I was filming something today, and the question was surrounding like language and words, right? And how, what are some things that's been said to you like throughout your career, or just like about your career that have maybe you felt like was how do they put it, something that triggered you, right? And so overcoming the idea of like I am not a fly by night thing, right? A lot of folks, I've received a lot of wins in the past 3 years, like really amazing blessings,
Mm,
things that I did not even imagine myself. What Salon said, I saw things I imagined, like literally I have
mm,
in real time manifested things I wanted and that I worked my behind off, because manifestation without works is dead. Yes. Um,
mhm,
and so I worked my behind off also to get to those spaces, and to have certain people be like, oh man, you're having a moment. Like you're having a great year. Like, and I know these things are meant to be like, affirming. I know they're meant to be like, congratulatory, right? But at the same time, it's like, are you saying I'm a moment? Like, are you saying that like where I am is not is lucky? Are you saying that, this is just like because of this, you're here in these spaces? And aside from that, just like people asking me questions about like, hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. I want to know, how'd you get in there? Like, what did you say? Like, what did you write to make them see it from like a poetic lens, but you're in these art spaces? Like, how'd
mhm,
you do that? And it's like, huh? It's conversations like that that make you feel like, and of course that may not be the case at all, but it makes you feel like people didn't think you would be where you are.
yeah.
That, and that's not to say people sitting around thinking about you, but it's just like for you not to hear, how finite that sounds to make my artistry and to make my journey. You making it this small, you know
Mhm.
when it's been almost a decade of putting in work. Like, Nikki, we go back. Like, you,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, you are
I
somebody
had
who,
someone tell me that too. Like, oh yeah, you're having a good year. Like,
like, how, like, what is that? Like, and I, like, we're not, like, this is not what the Oscar, like, we didn't make a movie this year, it's not like, we have put in work, we have put in
mhm,
tireless hours, and being parents as well.
yeah.
Like, that's also something I had to overcome, was this idea that I was not a sufficient mother because of the way that I balance, or the way that I put my artistic practices and my parenting at play. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard, because especially in this like self-righteous era where everybody has something to say, everybody knows everything about everything, and you and your mama and your cousin and your aunt. I know about all of y'all and your zodiac, and I'm gonna read you on Facebook in different posts, right, throughout the day. And this era of like a mother puts herself to the side, a mother always does these things first. I saw something that said like, no, you schedule whatever so that it accommodates your child or something like that. Red,
Yeah.
you seen that, right? And it's like I trust me, more power, and I envy mothers who are able to do that, because my God, like, that's a different type of selflessness, that's a different type of love. And that's not to, but I also know that's not to say I don't have that same thing,
Yeah.
because I don't move that way. You
And
understand?
that's why, yeah, and that's why I wanted to, like, I was like, well, checking in with you, and I think it's important to highlight that you're a mother, that we're mothers, because that is a thing, especially in the creative space, where it's just like the men get to sit around and draw circles until they're Michelangelo, because we supposed to be in the kitchen cooking and whatever have you. I've done live art with Marley in a little knapsack. I'm Hey, he hungry? I got the milk on it on me. I'm
Yes.
gonna keep painting.
One of the first times I ever saw Sonny Patterson, and I always go back to that. I always go back to that image of her sitting on the stage, breastfeeding her first child, I believe, and spitting this poem and looking like a whole god. Like, it was insane. Everybody's mouth was dropped. And I was like, I just want to touch the hem of her garment. Like, like, that's how, and I always think about that when I think about being a mom, and when I had my baby in like poetry venues, and you know what I'm saying? And even how she speaks now, she's super smart and super wise and super
Yep.
creative. And I know that she would not be that individual if I wasn't the parent that I was. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I see Emmanuel said consistency creates reality. Yeah, I love that. That need to be on a shirt.
That does need to be on the shirt. And please don't get me wrong. They don't see the hard work, but they really don't.
Yep.
They really don't. They just see. And you know what? Like, I do battle with, is that like our fault because we're always posting our successes, and maybe we don't post enough about like work, but also like that's not what Facebook is made for. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Facebook is made for that, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people sharing a lot of things. Instagram, though.
Would it have Natalie? A mother is already a full-time job. Hats off to you, ladies.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And that's
And
something
fatherhood is as well. I want to make sure, fatherhood is as well. Shout out to the single parents, especially the single creative fathers out there. I personally don't know any, but that's not to say they don't exist.
absolutely.
Okay, because I know they exist. So shout out to y'all.
Absolutely. So let's talk about let me see. Oh, Leela, admirable that you both juggle work, family, and perseverance. Well done, ladies. Thank you. Absolutely. It's definitely a struggle. There's times where when my son was much smaller, and there's some opportunities I had to pass by because I'm like, oh man, I'm like just getting out there and know I have a baby. But there's some things I took him, he would go, but he also same, like he speaks eloquently. He's very, gifted, high achieving. And, sometimes I'll ask him something. He was like, of course I know this. I'm Niki Lopez's son. I was like, oh, okay. But and it is, I think it's worth highlighting because, to normalize that you could still love your child, love your family, love your household, and still have a passion. And it's a challenge to figure out. But if you love both, and you have a purpose and you have, you have to do both, you're going to make it work.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about Carrol City Museum, how it came about, what's the mission? Like, that's so exciting that you're making something in your space.
Yeah. So, thank you for asking. The Carrol City Museum is just that. It is a museum that is going to archive the history and different stories surrounding Miami Gardens, but also expanding to different parts of the Black communities here in the city of Miami. We're talking about the histories. Our first exhibit is going to be called the Carrol City Citizens, which will display portraits of elder residents in Carrol City, as well as their origin stories of how they came to move into Miami Gardens, family history. They've also agreed to give us artifacts from their homes. So it's going to be just a beautiful honoring to the elders for holding space and holding it down, because I don't think people realize how hard it is for Black people to hold space in the city of Miami. Um, it doesn't even matter if you own it. That's how hard it is to own space in the city of Miami.
Mm.
I remember having a conversation with just my neighbor, Mr. Parks, across the street, and how at every turn, specifically in Richmond Heights, there has been some sort of way that they have tried to colonize it. And I say colonize over gentrification because, as a good friend of mine, Fania, pointed out, gentrification is supposed to be something good. It's supposed to be something that revitalizes and rejuvenates a community. But we see and what we experience here in the city of Miami is colonization, is complete takeovers. Is dog whistle politics. If you are in good standing, you can move into these new homes after we've taken you out of these projects, which is the reason you're in the projects, because you're not in good standing. So there's a flushing, a continuous flushing that takes place here in the city of Miami. And so the Carrol City Museum is also a stake. It is me putting down a stake into the ground and saying that, like, this Black house, you cannot move and you cannot have. And on top of that, I'm going to preserve other Black voices, other Black houses within my house, serving as also a sanctuary. My grandmother, the house belonged to my grandmother. My mother purchased it for her in 1976. It was originally built in 1966. And so throughout my life, when I would have to get, my mom worked for Delta Airlines, my dad worked for the county. I was a latchkey kid. And when they could, they would take me to Carrol City and I would stay with my grandma for weeks until they were able to, come pick me up and had the time, to totally dedicate. My parents were hard workers. And so it was, great that my grandmother was there to help, that I had two grandmas on both sides, so between there and Fort Lauderdale. So that's why I have this piece where I talk about, like, being from all of Miami, because I mean, like, I've been in so many different spaces. But the Carrol City Museum, yes, is that too, is serving as sanctuary. I thought about the things that I would have liked to see when I was coming home from school. My house is not too far also from Carrol City High School. And where do you normally go? You go to the Candy Lady house. You go to maybe the corner store. You get food you're not supposed to eat at 8 a.m. Cheetos and the like, but you kick it outside. And then when you come home from school, you know what I'm saying? There isn't a lot of sanctuaries for kids when they're coming home from school. There is a library, which is cool. But I think that what turns a lot of kids away from going to the library is because it's the library. And that's no shade. I loved the library as a kid. I used to actually take the Metro Rail downtown to the big library downtown. That was like my favorite spot to go. But I think having something like a place where there is art, where there is history, where there is a library where they can sit in, but it's a cool library in this, like, weird lady's house, I know that sounds terrible, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No.
Who has all sorts of programming and things happening that we can get into. I think about the youth. I think about my kid. I think about your kid. And, this is a hub. This will serve really as a beautiful hub for our youth to be engaged and to see themselves. Aside from that, the artists here in the city of Miami, Marvin Weeks is actually doing a talk, Charles Humes. These are artists that, like, have been literally painting on walls across the city of Miami, and people didn't even know who these men were. for a very long time. I'm thankful to the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center, which continues to do amazing programs to highlight, these artists who are pioneers in our community. And so this is also the opportunity to see their work, right? And to introduce them to a whole different generation, to introduce them to a whole different set of people. And so, yeah, I know that's a lot. I know it's a mouthful, but it's been a big labor of love putting out a proposal. And so this year I'm saying it live so that now I have to make sure it happens. We are slated to open our exhibition Carrol City Citizens by October. Here. So
Nice.
stay send this to me.
I will.
Watch it and know that I said it, and I have to do it. It has to happen.
Absolutely. And we have Emmanuel George. I'm so happy that he's on this on the live.
Well, actually, I just want to say, I have been talking to about helping us with the archiving work. I received a grant from WHAM, which is, I think it stands for Women Archivists, and something else, okay? But Anita Sharma, who is over that, she reached out to me and gave me a grant where I will be able to actually pay for archivists to come in and help with the Carrol City Citizens exhibition. It's such a blessing. So I spoke to Emmanuel about his archiving work and the brilliant things that he has been doing. I had the honor of watching the oh my goodness, don't kill me, Emmanuel, of watching his documentary that just came out. Yes. And I mean, for me, the documentary was one thing. It was beautiful. But for me, it was the elders that just love him so much and are so proud and feel proud and are talking and are telling stories. And I wish I could have stayed for the whole night because I mean, I get joy when I see our elders happy because of how much crap they have had to watch. And adding. I get joy from that. The same way I get joy from seeing Black boys at the Martin Luther King parade get on the stage and juke. There's a joy in that because these are folks that you don't see dance. You don't see being able to smile. You see hardworking, right? So yeah, shout out to you, Emmanuel. Thank you for your work. Continue, man. You're I can't turn on my computer and not see this man somewhere. It's insane.
He had some stats
here. What are you doing?
According to Zippia, Black people only make up 4.4% of the archivist population. Kudos to Arsimmer and Niki for preserving legacy.
Wow. Yeah. Kudos to you. Are you kidding me? I can't even consider myself an activist. As a matter of fact, I'm saying help me, but really I'm about to take that money and give it to them and say, please call me when y'all ready to take the pictures. Because people think archiving work is is not as taxing as it actually is. It's very taxing and it takes intention, it takes being diligent, deliberate, and doing good research. And you got to back up whatever it is that you find. It's a lot of work. So I'm preserving it by handing the money over. That's fine.
I know Emmanuel definitely has had me looking at different things that I'm doing in an archival way. And, so I love talking with him and just, what he's up to and inspiring me to kind of see where, wait a minute, I need to make sure, because I've been doing stuff for a while and things are moving. So, I want to archive those things as well as archive just all the stuff that I'm doing. Because, 100 years from now, somebody else can take it to a whole nother level. And I can take it. Right. So I'm definitely inspired by both of what you all are doing, and Emmanuel, just what he's doing. I love seeing him grow, and people have a lot of respect for him, and and he's keeping that legacy up and sharing these stories that are important.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Shout out to us. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to like switch gears a little bit because it is April is National Poetry Month, and you are a poet. I love all the amazing stuff that you do, but I would love, love, love if you could just drop a little poetry jewels on us.
Okay, okay, yes. So like you said, my work is a lot about conversations around identity, around conversations I've had with folks in the community. But it is, but Miami and the culture that I grew up in is always at the forefront. Um, I love this city. It's ups, it's down, highs and lows. There's so much history here. Um, there's also, for me personally, it is a grounding space, something that grounds me from all of the different spaces that I am tapped into. So this piece that I will be doing is called Miami's Atlas, and it is an ode to me being here in the city of Miami and all the things that have made me. I am asphalt and fire ants, sweet blood for mosquitoes, daughter of tobacco fields, grandchild of mustard greens, muscadines fermented and turned into moonshine. I come from down south and up north. Find me latched to a gate trailing a vine of dewberries ripening for deep pies. I know the aroma of outside on black feet, cutting through tall grass in Lauderdale. Back when all this used to be woods, that's an ancient Negro proverb. Mango juice stains on my collar from summers in Old Orange Grove. I am just like my mother, coming and going. A soft song stays stuck in my throat like hymns floating over wooden pews in a collective utterance. I'm in the crux of my mother's elbow. Forehead between armpit and chest, itchy rayon floral printed dress socks sleeping to the murmuring of ceiling fans. I desire to be a cash king in the corner store. Find me making a bounty of $5. And here is where the block banter occurs, where the men can always find work but can't stay off the curb. After a bottle of wild Irish rose, expect the dialogue to turn into verbs and slurs. Conversations continue on into the dark, where the street lights beam down like stars on parked cars. I know tea green Japanese silk with a faux feather lining, cascading across my grandmama's orange shag rug, and the survivor of cocaine, Yahweh bin Yahweh, voter fraud, redlining, yellow caution tape, floodlines. I know nothing here was made for me, but nothing would stand if I shrugged. I want air that don't taste like gas. I want you to see me as God intended. I want to be vulnerable and not regret the fallout. I want the ancient cities from Richmond Heights to Pleasant preserved in gold. I want the cranes shrouding the skylines to disintegrate into salt so the kids can skate on 65th Street again. I am soft sun behind lavender and cerulean skies. I am the Gandhi dancer, taking a break to sip my limeade and bite my Johnny cake, sweat creating pools in the small of my back, shading my eyes, always looking for home. Thank
Mm.
you.
Woo! Thank you, thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Miami's Atlas. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I'm
Yeah.
actually hoping to turn that into a book. So it will be one poem, but it will be like a coffee table art book. I'm working on. It's long time also in process, but hopefully by October that will be happening as well.
Yeah, we got some hearts, some
Yeah.
talent, some high
Thank you. Thank
five.
you.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
And yeah, when it becomes a book, I definitely, I want to get a copy. I need a signed copy. I'll
I
buy.
got you. I got you. Whatever you want. Whatever. Whatever you want.
What is something that you want people to experience when they learn about you or your work?
I want them to see how poetry is the muse to music, is the muse to dance, is the muse to art, is the muse to the fashion designer, is the muse, to the hairstylist. Creatives are all pushed and pulled into each other. And so I want when people walk into anything that I do to know that there are multiple influences at work here. and that you should see me not just as a poet and a writer, but you should see me as a cultural worker. You should see me as an artist. I think that poets have had to fight, so much to really be able to sit in this plane. Mind you, there is a lot of work that is language centered. There is art that is literally just words, and yet and still poets have been made separate from visual art, have been made separate from photography, have been made separate from sculpture. When I think, is it the Iliad, or I think it's the Iliad, is like the most influential, piece of literature for artists, and it's a giant poem. Like, when y'all gonna let us in? When you gonna give us, the respect that is deserving? And so that's what I hope, that people will walk in and see that. Can I segue that into talking about where I'm at right now?
Sure, that was going to be the next question. Like, what you up to now?
So April 8th, that is this Friday. The honoring starts at 7 p.m., but doors will open at 6. And that's when you can get cocktails. So, just let you know, if you want to be late, go ahead. But I can't promise you it's going to be cocktails, okay? Because I'm not paying for that. The gallery's paying for that, okay? So I'm currently the poet in residence at Locust Projects. And Niki, I'll shoot you the information so you can send the address out. Locust Projects is located on the outskirts, I call it the design district. The design district looks like Metropolis, and then there's everything outside of it. So Locust Projects is like right outside of Metropolis, in the design district. And right now they have on exhibition a work called When the Source is Open, Megamix. And it is done by a group called the Sound Insurgency Research Group. That is the platform that I'm sitting on right now. These purple boxes that you see are actually speakers. And so the Sound Insurgency Research Group does a lot with sound, how sound can be politicized, how sound can be used as a weapon, but also how sound is liberating. And so they did a site-specific piece, which means that it is curated specifically for the city of Miami, on sound here in our city, sound ordinances that are put in place, and how gentrification sounds or colonization sounds. So you'll hear everything in this actual piece, from like sounds of construction to whole 90s mixes with DJs scratching and the whole nine. Takes you back to Studio 183. You know what I'm saying? For those of you who know about that life, I technically don't know about that life, but I have pictures from my sister. Some of y'all was nasty. That's all I have to say. And so they asked me as the poet in residence to activate this space. And so I will be activating it by honoring Will the Real One Bell, who was a pioneer in the spoken word community. He was a voice. He is, when I think of sounds of Miami, I cannot have that conversation without talking about this man and his voice, and the work that he did and the love that he showed to a community of people, really strangers. He self-obligated himself to seeing poets be able to have a space, to seeing poets be able to have a voice, learn how to use their craft in order to feed themselves. He held workshops. He got people put on, okay? He was actually Poet Laureate of Miami. In 2005, Miami New Times named him Best Poet in Miami. So we're talking about an international artist right here from the city of Miami that wore goals. You understand what I'm saying? And he should be honored every single day of his life for like literally busting out goals, being his authentic self, being a Black man, okay? And a
good Black man with gold.
You understand me? Chocolate, okay? Chocolate Black man, okay, from the city of Miami, from Liberty City, okay? Liberty City and Overtown, which he claimed. And so I know that my work is a product of that. Even if I wasn't a direct, student, I went to his shows. I listened. We, as many people here in the city of Miami did. And I know just the fact that I am a poet in these spaces, that I have to pay homage to this man for being able to be in this space. He really was an originator of taking poetry out of the venue and putting it everywhere, like everywhere. There was a clip I was watching, and Larry Dog was saying that Will told him, don't be afraid to put your art everywhere or anywhere, you know? And that's such a profound statement, you know? Don't be afraid of that. So from the spoken word open mic to the gallery, okay? I have him to thank for that ideology. I have him to thank for being that foundation to teach us all, you know what I'm saying, what community looks like and what real creative process looks like. So if you all are, you know, looking for something to do on Friday night,
mouthful of gold.
yes, mouthful of gold. If you are looking for something to do on Friday night, as I said, doors open at 6 p.m. This is, I don't want to call this a show. It's not a show, it's an honoring. If you would like to bring something to put on the platform, I will be building a monument to him as well. So teddy bears, balloons, candles, Black and Miles, Doers bottles. You have jerseys. If you got anything like that. And I'm so serious. Please bring those things. I am about showing up authentically in all spaces. And so I really do mean that. If you knew this man and you want to bring something to honor him, whatever that looks like, even if it's a letter or a note, please come by and do so. This has been one of my most ambitious projects, for sure. For sure. I've never dealt with sound before. And so this is almost like a sound documentary. We'll only see one visual at the end of the night of him, but throughout the entire time, my goal is to almost train your ear to know his voice. You'll hear other voices, but I'm training your voice throughout the sound installation to know who he is and to know his voice out of everyone else's. So yes, I hope that, you know, I know you won't make it because, you know, we gotta support our good girl, but
yes. We have another poet, Chunky, saying, hey.
Hi, Chunky.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely, if I didn't have, like, I literally right before I got on here, there's another friend of mine that have an exhibition, which in fact is actually combining literary arts and visual arts.
Wow.
So Kaula Noruddin, who is just the curator and artist for Spady Museum, they're like, it's a filmmaker, a poet, a writer. And so the writers are making a piece, and then the visual artists are making a piece, you know, connected to that.
Oh wow! I participated. Yeah, I did that, but it was a different gallery with Taina.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So something, you know, honoring both, you know, visual and performing, you know, in the written word. So absolutely. And I see, we have Shanna from Let Us Swim, one of my swim coaches, saying absolutely awesome.
Women are resistant.
Yes. Oh man,
that's dope. Yeah, see right there. It's just, there are so many pioneers. I'm so like, Chunky. When you talk about pioneers, like when you talk about honoring, you know what I'm saying? These are the folks that like literally pave the way for folks to be able to step outside of that space and to expand and expound upon their craft. You almost had to, you know, I'm not saying there was a validation process, but, you know, there's also something that just makes you feel like you can after you've experienced being in space with these people. You know, you want to get better, you want to hone your craft, and then you also understand the impact of what that craft can do. So yes. I'm excited. Like I said, this is the most ambitious project I've ever done. Well, I'm not gonna say ever done because there's probably more ambitious projects to come.
Yeah.
This is my first time.
Today. I love that people are still keeping his legacy alive. You
Yeah.
know, I've heard his poem before Literary Cafe in Jade Lounge
Yeah.
on South Beach. You know, and I've been following his poetry ever since. And like I said a little earlier, I'm so upset. He wrote me a poem on MySpace and it's gone. I gotta look to see if I ever.
I like to see, and also I'm definitely gonna want to know the tea on why you the only person with a poem on MySpace. I need the tea. I need the tea. Was there the little glittery pictures? You know how you put the
I
heart?
know that. Yeah, I think because I was coming to the poetry, so I went there one time, and I was just like, oh my god, because I was in Florida since 2003. And I went there and I was hooked, and I would just always see him at spaces. And I think, I think I might have said something like, "Oh, I don't know if you remember me." And he was like, instead of saying yes, he did a poem piece, which is really, really cool.
Okay.
I might have some pictures of him too, because when he was at Mellow Mondays, I used to shoot that. So
Yes.
I gotta look.
I would love that if you wanted to send those on.
Chunky said, "I'm excited too. Thank you."
I think it's important that we understand, because I was also wrapped up in, am I validated to do this honoring, right? And I did not reach out to a lot of folks about it. I wanted to honestly validate myself and validate my story and my connection with him how I saw fit. And I think that's important, because there's a lot of vanity sometimes that comes with honoring of folks. Sometimes people want the inclusion, you know what I'm saying, or they feel like they should be a part of the narrative because of their proximity with the person. But the thing is, I think Laura London said it best, that Nipsey Hussle told us, like, we are only here to experience, right? Right? Was that it? And so he was sent here to me personally. And it's interesting because there's a clip from Gunplay that talks about other beings and what we're sent here to do. And when you do a good job, you can go home. And it's so crazy. Like, I did a deep dive, and the fact that Gunplay, first of all, Gunplay is deep. Let's be very clear. Like, that man is deep. When they asked him how he beat a charge, Buddy said, "I cut chickens and goats." Gunplay is my new favorite person. I never paid attention to Gunplay like that. Bible on the Dash is my shit. But, like, other than that, I didn't. He was a lot. And so listening just to the things that he said, but where was the other being? The other being. His impact was so that these 9-10 years from now, I would be here sitting today in Locust Projects saying I want to honor him in this space. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I battle with that for a second, but I hope other people see it and they get up and just decide to, like, honor that individual, honor that teacher, honor that student, honor that mother, honor that matriarch in the neighborhood, even though she nosy, she the one who kept you out of jail, like, like, honor that coach, now, not when he passes away, like, honor him right now, and all that he has done for the kids in the community. I'm big on us understanding that every day we make history. You don't have to be this huge political figure or this huge person in order to be revered or in order to be honored, So yeah, that's my spiel.
Chucky got some jokes. MySpace is telling your age. You're both beautiful.
First of all, okay, I want my space back. Okay.
I do. I've tried to recover that page just specifically because every time something comes up, I'm like, dang, I wish I found. I probably have that written down somewhere, copied somewhere. Yeah. So
What you call it? Solange brought Black Planet back. Remember, she like dropped a single or something like that, and then she had a link for it, but it was to Black Planet, and she was like, "Yes, trying to get us to get back on Black Planet," but it was like, "Girl, it is nothing here."
Yeah, if y'all see me there, that's not me. That's my. When you said that, I'm like, oh no, I need to go find a login.
You still on Black Planet?
I was saying, like, if you know, because one of the MySpace pages I was able to open, I had two.
Okay.
So there was still some things there. So like I don't know. Now I gotta figure out how to get on my Black Planet to make sure
nothing intimidate. Nothing. No, what's
nothing incriminating is still on there.
Intimidating. Yeah, you better check it out, sis.
Before somebody finds.
No, I got incriminating things on MySpace. I gave it to God. Like, I'm just hoping it just blows me up even more. And I know I looked way better back then. Okay, so I gave it to God.
He's looking at the eyes. Yeah,
please.
Yeah, I just got a flashback of a photo that might be on there. I don't know. I'm nervous.
Now everybody about to try and pull up MySpace to find our stuff. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, don't do it. Don't do it.
See, we just got to find our own and then just make shirts.
Oh my God, Carlos, if we all went back to Black Planet, it would be popping.
Hey! Congratulations on your show. I won't be able to be there because I too have a show, but congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, I mixed it up. So she said Friday is her solo exhibition. The Spady exhibition, Radical Pleasure, opened last week, and that's the one where I said it was like poets and visual artists.
I feel some type of way about not getting that call for the poets, but you know what? I'm gonna let it slide because I know
because she knew you was doing this somehow.
Yeah, that's what it was. We'll stick to that.
Now I'm gonna try to figure out Black Planet before y'all go on there and try to make it poppin'. I gotta remove some things. If it's
Solange tried it. So if Solange can't do it, I don't know, friend. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Solange got people wearing rollers to the club. Okay.
Oh so
I don't know. Saw things I imagine.
Oh man. How do you balance between being an artist, a creative director, a mom? Like, how do you balance with all those things that you're doing and up to?
You're so funny, Nikki. This the comedy time. This where
the comedy time. The comedy time.
You know,
work in progress.
You know, honestly, it is a work in progress. It for sure is. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this because it's actually, I don't know how to feel about it, but a lot of my family has had to understand that for the longest, what they've been living with is a creative. They didn't know what the hell they were living. They didn't understand any of it. And I'm for people just being themselves because I've come to realize that when people are not able to function in the way they want to, they act out, they do, you know, they're unhappy, and it exudes in different ways. And so once my family understood what I do and really understood how I work, and I mean, this is really only happened over the past 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. Of them really like, I think for my father, it actually was like seeing me perform at a spot called Smoke Signals a very long time ago. And there was a lot of people there. And I had asked him if he could play behind me. I was singing at the time. And we had a little band. And he came to this thing and he was like, oh, God, you know, like, oh, you're really doing things, right? You're doing things. He knew that I was a thing. Now, my mother, it hit her when I did a show at the Perez Museum. And She walked into the Perez Museum, and then afterwards, just like the people, it finally hit her what the goal was. She finally understood, like, okay, these times where I've had to pick up Yaya, these times where you haven't answered the phone, for a few days. You know what I'm saying? Because also, it takes a lot out of me. I know a lot of creatives that have been able to like create and they don't kind of go, I hate to say a dark place, but I'm not one of those people. I do go into myself. This project alone, working on Will's honoring, I've been closed off for like a month. Like I haven't really gone outside like that. I haven't like ventured out. And my daughter, who is so emotionally intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate that when these moments happen, she turns into a caregiver, but that's what happened. Like she's the one who comes see me on the couch, and I'm glued to a laptop. I've got books all around me. I've got like papers here, and she's like, "Did you bathe today? Do you want to?" I'm gonna just start the shower. I'm gonna just start. You get in. You want to get in. And literally, anybody who knows my kid knows she talks just like that. And she's the one who made, because I don't want to eat like that, like big things. So she'll make ramen and just sit it in front of me. Like she's like, that's my heart right there. And once I'm out of it, it's ice cream, dinner, we out, we in the streets, we're out here again. And it's a beautiful thing. So balance is something I have to work on. But one thing that definitely has helped is, my family, everybody kind of just understanding who I am, and my processes, and being supportive, more supportive now than ever, that they see that. Yeah.
What's one thing that people may not know about you that you're comfortable sharing?
What's something that people may not know about me?
Delma said, beautiful daughter.
What's something people don't know about me? There are so many things. I mean, there are so many things, Lord.
You have a rap album coming out?
I'm literally like, what they say when you get to heaven? That rap sheet. You thought you was going in here, bruh. Look at this paper, bruh. That's a very difficult question. Something that people may not know about me. It's like I want to give you like something so juicy, but also like
not incriminating.
Right. And it's interesting because it's not even about incrimination. I think more people would be open to being real about things about themselves if people, understood humans and understood that like everybody's journey is not the same. And that you never know who you're going to be in a certain situation. One of my biggest things is when, I'm in a conversation with somebody and the conversation of domestic violence comes up. And, people are like, it wouldn't happen, it wouldn't be me. I would have did bop, bop, bop. You don't know what the hell
exactly
would have done. Because I've seen strong women, strong, beautiful, capable women. Okay, women who lift weights, women who, you know what I'm saying, swim, women who, take boxing, taekwondo, all of that, and have sat down and told me about horror stories, And so I think that people would be more open. And I don't think anybody really cares about being incriminated as much as they care about community care, which is lacking. I don't think people understand that community care isn't about caring about the people that are in your circle. that are caring about the people, even though we in the circle, but the circle is big and vast and everybody's in the circle. But not just, and also that it's not just popularity. It's not about, you know, skirting around issues either. You know, we think because we're not in an organizing space, technically, that this isn't a space that needs radical care, or this isn't a space that needs community care. You know? And so, yeah, I know I was supposed to go into something else, but like, I don't want you to think that's the reason. Like, I got something that's gonna just. That's right. Like, there are things that just at the end of the day, to put it very plainly, I just don't, you know.
Yeah.
I trust folks with. Maybe I don't. Oh my God, I don't.
That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, that was.
No, but I need to. I'm also like, I don't like that. I don't like that. There's a question not answered. Like, even if I didn't know on the Scantron, like, just put C. Like, just put C.
What you said is important, you know, about community care. And it also kind of leads me to the next question, which I was going to ask is, do you have any self-care practices?
Ooh, yeah, also work in progress. So far, my self-care practice right now is mad expensive, and it is a problem. Telfar bags and food. Like Telfar bag. No, I have to stop that. I don't know who I think I am. I don't know who I think I am, but I need to stop thinking I'm that person because that person can afford it. You cannot. They just dropped the emeralds today and I'm online and I had to have a whole conversation with myself. Like, girl, stop. And then food. I love food. Oh my God. I love it. I love when different restaurants pop up and I can try it and see their new take on a new damn fusion. Everything is fusion. And yeah, so my self-care is like literally thinking I'm a part of Sex in the City and going and having dinner like on my own. I really enjoy I really enjoy it. Because I know somebody's listening right now, like, yeah, you ain't got nobody go. No, I like getting what I want, enjoying what I want, people watching. It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different versions of self-care.
Yeah.
You know, and taking yourself to dinner and treating yourself, that's still an amazing thing. I'm kind of I'm a low-key foodie as well. I love
no, just a little. What is this? Wrapped in basil.
Yeah, the aroma. Look at that photo.
3 of those right here.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and that also stems from feeling bad about like spending for myself or doing things for myself. But like I said, dinner is cool to a certain extent. Telfars are cool to a certain extent, which is why I say my self-care is a work in progress. I got to do more free things.
Yeah.
Care for myself. More things that are free. So, like swimming, free.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing. We swim on Saturday mornings and sometimes Sunday after the beach practice. So.
Saturday morning.
Or swim with mermaids. There's Afro mermaids in Miami. That was the thing.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. I don't feel like they want us in their water. I don't think we need
Afro mermaids.
Yeah, you just let them have that, you know.
Yeah, they have these swim pods so people could come out and see them swim. If you want to try out one of the fins, you can. If you want to take pictures.
Are you saying these are real people?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like ancestors.
Mermaids, Latinegra mermaids, BIPOC mermaids, because the Mer community, of course, surprise, surprise, is very whitewashed and elitist. However, surprise, surprise, the oldest mermaid story is found in Africa, where Mommy was from.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started doing swimming and trying to take up space for myself and other Black swimmers, I found them a little over a year ago. But our Diversity and Aquatic Swim Club went down and met with them and hung out with them one Saturday. And they have a mermaid convention coming up that they're doing, and creating space and teaching water safety and water fun. And it was just a nice, amazing day. We was in South Miami. We carpooled down. And yeah, they have another it's on my Instagram. I put it on my some of the mermaids, so you could watch them or you could try on the stuff.
That's cute. I remember I bought Yaya something off Amazon a long time ago. And I never felt comfortable for her to wear it in anybody's pool. I don't know why. It was so pointless. Like, it was pointless. But
They almost said Latina mermaids. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's their thing, teaching about, because this is a lady who she grew up with, the typical mom, being fearful. I don't swim, you don't swim. And then the father teaching her about swimming. But it was more swimming for survival. And she goes to the mermaid shop and get like, wow, swimming for like fun, and starts to collect all these things and get to the cash register and realize, wait a minute, not one mermaid in the entire store looked like me. And so that's what and then she started researching and looking up, and surprised to find the oldest mermaid story is in Africa, predating Yemaya, predating, other Orishas that are connected with water that we're a little bit more familiar with. But still, and so, with Diversity Aquatics, and we talk about reconnecting Black people to water, because, we had, a water culture that was severed by design. So, yeah,
that's incredible. Okay, I might consider. I really thought you were talking about like, no, there's a story of like Afro arcades. I thought you were talking about like some spirits, and I was like,
we went into a portal and it transported us back in time.
Leave them people alone. Leave them spirits alone. They're fine. But that's amazing. That's amazing.
And it's all ages, so you could bring your daughter. Like it's a fun thing. Yeah,
she loves the water. And actually, so I've been an artist in residence in the Everglades for a month, in the month of February, and connecting back to land and like being in silence. You don't realize how sound plays such a big part in your life, and water and all those things. I went in what's called a sluice log, where you get into the cypress, like into the cypress mangroves, like water and mud. I don't know what I was thinking, but I got in there and I was terrified because, you don't know what's under you. The mud, it suctions your feet. So like you have to literally like pull yourself from the water. You don't know what's in there, and they organize hikes through there, all the time in the glades. And I went out there, and staying out there for a month and doing things like that, it's just, it's so necessary for us to connect back to like, to land and understanding that like it's a part of us, and being comfortable with it and not being scared, but also accepting the fact that like, if a gator eats you today, that was supposed to happen. Because number one, like gators, they eat one thing and they're full for like a couple of days, right? So if you get ate by a gator, it was your time. Like he was
you served your purpose.
But also just the fact that like this is his space. You're in his space. You have to be accepting of your fate in this space, and accepting of the land that it belongs to the land and not to you. So you can either be of it or be of it. Like that's it, So I figured that's the same thing with seeing these babies connect to water, seeing them like just accepting it and being immersed in it, you know. Yeah.
I see a performing artist, Octavia Gather. She said, my grandmother said her grandmother told her that her great great grandmother saw a mermaid on a slave ship coming from Mother Africa.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is an artist who's actually doing stories on folklore, um,
Mm.
and ancestry as it pertains to that. I wish I could remember their name.
Yeah, because there's I know uh Olokun was one of the Orishas that governed over the Atlantic transatlantic slave trade, but also Mami Wata was like would lure the sea, the captains of the ship and try to destroy them and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What is the best place? Because I know you have Facebook, Instagram. If somebody wants to connect with you, see what you're up to, what's the best way to reach you?
ArsimmerMcCoy.com. I do not currently have an Instagram. I do have a Facebook, which I very rarely am on, to be honest. But if you go to arsimmermccoy.com, it's a Squarespace website. You can go there, and where it says who you is or who you with, I think you can send me an email directly.
Okay.
Emails are now how I function. Oh my God, I feel so corporate to say. It's so dry. I don't like it. I don't. But people got my number too. Okay, you can call me too. Like
Yeah.
that's really how I work. Text me,
Okay.
call me. Even if it's about possible collaborations or anything like that, like just text me and call me. But yep, on my website.
Cool, cool, cool. This has been so exciting to have you here and catch up and just learn more about what you're up to, what you're doing. Good luck on Friday. Yeah, if there's another, I don't know if is it going to be more than one activation, or is Friday?
And not for me, for sure.
Mhm.
So April, this Friday on the 8th, will be the last activation of this particular work, this
Mhm.
platform that I'm on today. And then I think they take it down. I'm sad to see it go. I wish I could take it home with me and put it in my backyard, to be honest. It's really cool. It's just really cool. Like, but yeah, sad.
Yeah, yeah,
Hopefully, excuse me, it will be filmed. So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so definitely good luck on Friday. Thanks for being here and sharing all that you're up to, and for being here for National Poetry Month and sharing space. I really appreciate that. So I did put a link in the comments where you could for Instagram and Facebook, but then I just put in the website. So definitely, please go and check it out. At some point, I think I need to look at the circle's supposed to be a half an hour. It never ends at a half an hour. But that's okay. It's like this is great information, to be able to share what you're doing and to be able to have that out there for other people to discover or find out more what you're doing and be inspired and motivated to do something different in their life, or do something. Maybe, hey, I write, I want to do something.
Yeah.
I'm just really grateful for everyone that's been on here, to have you on here. I know there's quite a few people that's still watching on, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Please consider sharing this once we're done, because that could be, you could inspire somebody in your network to, be a cultural worker, to be a poet, to maybe they have some, memories of Will that they want to connect to and come out on Friday to see this, to experience um, uh, uh, the showcase. I don't know, what do you call it? Oh,
Oh, it's called a higher power. Is the
higher
name
power.
of the honoring a higher power. Yes.
And Anastasia said, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, absolutely. So, we're going to be back to regular scheduling. So definitely look out for more information on if if you're an artist, if you're doing things in the community, if you're using your skills, your talent to impact your community and communities around you. I definitely am interested in, having you on the circle. There is a link in my link tree that you could go and find out more of what I do, as well as to sign up if you want to be a future guest here on the circle. The circle is brought to you by What's Your Elephant? What's Your Elephant is a movement that uses the arts to create a safe space to address everything unspoken. You can find out more on what'syourelephant.org. I have a couple of projects that I'm doing and a lot more activations coming up. I was doing a whole What's Your Elephant LGBTQ series. So I had to put a little pause on that for another project, but we'll be getting back to that, art and conversation and creating work and around that. Also, if you'd like to have more information of what I'm up to, you could go to Linktree/Niki Lopez 19. And any final words?
Well, I want to thank you, of course, for the work that you've been putting in for over a decade, man. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for uplifting the community. Thank you for keeping the culture. And also thank you for supporting living artists. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for giving flowers while people are still alive. That's important. That's a leader. That's community care. And you exude that in everything you do. And I'm so thankful to run into you and continue to run into you.
Yeah.
And hopefully we work on some collaborative pieces together. I would be incredibly honored
Yeah.
to be able to work with you. So, and thank you to everybody that's in that watched and stayed on. This was long, and so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying and kicking it. I lost track of time, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
You're amazing, and the circle is amazing. Thank you for creating spaces.
And people who are going to watch it on the replay, going to listen to it on the podcast, thank you so much for supporting this, for listening, for tuning in, for sharing this. This is great stuff. We have people in the community doing a lot of amazing work. And an easy way to support is just share the content. That's free.com.
Yeah.
So, until next time, the circle is the first and the third Tuesday of the month, and I will see you all soon. All right. Good night.
Good night.